Hey everyone, Richard Metal Fan here, bringing you guys a brand new 2018 album review. And today we're going to be looking into one of my most anticipated albums here in 2018, and this is one album I've been really looking forward to talking about. And as you can see below the title, today we're going to be looking into the new album from one of my all-time favorite bands ever, Behemoth. Their new album that came out today, I Loved You at Their Darkest, which came out today through Metal Blade Records. Now, everybody should probably have at least heard of Behemoth, or at least know the name. They're one of the most big bands in the world of extreme metal, hailing all the way from Poland. These guys have been around since '91, and Behemoth is one of my all-time favorite bands. I've been a fan of these guys for many years, and I and wow, I just love everything that these guys have done. Is just spot on. Whether it be like their first three albums, where they were just typically just straight up black metal, to like more black and death metal, or death metal, whatever you want to call it. And this new album, I Loved You at Your Darkest, is the follow-up to 2014's The Satanist, which in my opinion was my favorite album of theirs, period, yet, and my favorite album of 2014. But I was curious, will this album live up to The Satanist, or at least be in the same lines of that? In my honest opinion, I think it definitely has. Like, everything is where it needs to be. Yeah, I feel like this is not like The Satanist Part 2. I feel like it's a totally different chapter for the band. The band's 11th full-length album. Just the production is just superb. It's just as equally as good as The Satanist. In terms of like the guitar tone, bass tone, drums, everything. Vocally, just Nurgle just sounds just raw and almost kind of feels like Behemoth went back to the roots, kind of like the old school black metal sound. Just like the way, and I also think his vocals have just gotten better. It's just better as well in the last few years. And his guitar playing along with Seth's is just like the soloing and just riffs, and the guitar tone on the album is just really just beefy and just very crunchy sounding. The bass tone is pretty audible. Like Orion's bass, you could definitely hear it well in the mix, and Inferno is just insanely just godly good as always. Like one of the best extreme metal drummers I've ever heard. But yeah, without further ado, let's dive into this album track by track. Now the album opens up with the song Solve, which immediately subverts any preconceived expectations from the listener might have, with sort of like a children's choir vocalizing lines for a minute before sort of like the heavy instrumentals kick in and the choir fades into the background. It's an effective tool which makes this sort of like I guess this is a 2-minute intro track shine, prepares the listeners for what is about to come. And we go into Wolves of Siberia, which is, this track feels very reflective of Behemoth as a band through its unrelenting aggression, but one which the lyrical content really shines through. It's just superb, and I actually had the pleasure of hearing this song played live when I saw them in Charlotte back in June, and it's really great to hear it in a recorded studio version, it's good. Next up is God Equals Dog, which is actually the first track off the album that was released as a single, and this pretty much got me pumped, and is a little difficult to see why. The barreling drums and guitar work are synonymous with what most people consider to be just classic Behemoth, but like the introduction of a backing Gregorian choir chant and the reintroduction of like children's choir from like the first track creates such like a vivid soundscape for the song, and the interlude piece in the middle is beautifully crafted to build sort of like suspense before the climax. There's a well-rounded song and one that is very reflective of things Behemoth has attempted to harness with this entire album. Next on the album is called Ecclesia Diabolica Catholica, which again sort of like follows a similar formula, with sort of like a barreling riff carrying the song throughout the most part, an exceptional mid-song solo and a minute-long acoustic outro being, I think, the only real variances with the song. And there's some really interesting drum fills used to break up sort of like certain sections of the song, and again, having that backing Gregorian chant at certain parts makes it sound very complete, and it's definitely a song that will go well live. Bartzabel, this song almost seems very ritualistic, and like the chanted line "Come to me, Bartzabel," repeated over a slower, almost tribal drumming pattern, and softer lead harmonies help sort of like accentuate this, but also provide a wonderful platform for Nurgle to bring his vocals in now, and is a different track to what fans would expect from any Behemoth. song, but after a few repeat visits, it definitely belongs in Behemoth's back catalog. And following on from this is the next two tracks being If Crucifixion Was Not Enough and Angelus 8, which returns to the band's more faster pace and more in-your-face style delivery, with both carrying ethereal undertones underneath sort of like the fast-paced aggressions of the songs. Next song on the album is called Sabbath Matter, which follows and has some of the bleakest lyrics on the album, but what makes this track so strong is his Nurgle's venomous delivery on each line. And Behemoth always has been a band that has taken aim at Christianity and sort of like religion and all this shit, and this album is no different. But for some reason, the profanity of the way the lyrics are delivered on this track gives the song sort of like an edge that only a vocal performance like that could only ever provide. Next on the album is called Hevoj Pantocrator, which this song pretty much slows the tempo down once again, for what could be considered one of the standout tracks on the album. Artistically, it's very melodic, but feels some of the same harshness that Behemoth is known for. There's a little more to say on this song, other than it just really needs to be experienced. And then followed by the closing duo of the songs Rom 5/8 and We Are the Next 1000 Years that really add an impressive and strong conclusion to the album before sort of like the instrumental outro Coagula caps it off. Now overall, the first thing that is immediately noticeable with this album is the production is just very raw sounding overall. It feels like very much akin to the band's sort of like earlier releases that embodies sort of like the polish of the production of their most recent albums, and sort of like gives a mix of it, a raw feel. And I really like the use of the orchestral elements that all work beautifully and never feel overdone and gimmickly. In addition, like the lead guitar is very more prevalent on this album than originally expected. Most of these songs have beautiful lead guitar moments in there, whether it be just a solo or short passage. I mean, these pieces really enhance with the dark areas that pop up throughout, and also highlight the moments and sort of like the climactic parts as well. Oh, and it's just really this album is just so good. Like it's just pretty much as good as The Satanist, but yeah. So if I were to give this album a score, I'm definitely going to give this a solid 9 out of 10. So yeah, that's my review of the new Behemoth, guys. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about it, and I'll see you all in the next video. And as always, keep it metal.